Hi, I'm Diana, the artist behind mymcdoodles. Welcome to my channel. This is the project we'll be painting together today. This is a really simple way to paint some really pretty watercolor fall leaves. For this project, I'm using Canson watercolor paper. It comes in a pad like this. I'll have a link in the description. It's a nice thick paper, it's a good quality, and it's affordable. The brush I'm using is Princeton Neptune watercolor brush. It's a synthetic squirrel brush. This is a size 6. These are also available with a link in my description. The paint I use is by mgram. This is a pack that has 10 colors in it. They also have smaller packs. I really like this paint, but there are a lot of options out there. Winsor and Newton is another nice brand. I'll have a link to this one in my description and some alternatives. For my metallic paint, I'm using this Komorebi watercolor paint set by MozArt supplies, and it's this really pretty shimmery paint that adds just like a little bit of sparkle and shine to your design. Besides that, you'll just need a jar of water, a palette for your paint, or like a plastic tray or something to mix your paint in, and paper towel and some newspaper. If you'd like to sketch in your leaves by hand or look up reference images on Google just to get an idea of what different leaves look like and what colors you want to make yours, if you don't really feel like sketching them in by hand, you just want to focus on the watercolor aspect of this project, then feel free to print out this guide that I've created for you. This has a variety of 6 different leaves, and you can just use this as your guide and focus on just adding your watercolors to your piece and not necessarily on sketching these leaves perfectly or whatever. This guide is available on my website. There'll be a link in the description of this video so you can download it and print it. I'm going to go ahead and transfer these onto my watercolor paper. So I'm just going to put pencil on the back and then just trace over them so it duplicates right onto my watercolor paper. You can also use tracing paper or whatever method you like. I like to use a really dull pencil to do this part. I don't want to have a sharp point that's going to trace my image onto my watercolor paper too dark or leave grooves in my paper. So we have all of our fall leaves traced through under our paper. We can go ahead and paint them. So I have a general idea of what color these leaves turn in the fall. So we've got like a couple oak leaves, we have some maple leaves, there's a ginkgo leaf. So you kind of can look up like reference images on Google if you want to see like different colors that the leaves change to in the fall, or you can just paint it loose like however you wish. It doesn't have to be something that's pulled from real life. So I'm going to use a lot of water and a little bit of paint just to get like a tinge of color on my paper so I can see what I'm doing a little better. But I'm just going to fill in this whole shape with water, and it's okay to leave little gaps in your water here and there. It makes it look really pretty when your watercolor dries. So I'll wet this entire shape and then drop in my color. You want to make sure you're dropping your color in while this is still wet, so you need to work fairly quickly. And you can see the color will just spread to the areas that are wet. You could add a little more water too to kind of help guide the color where you want it to go. So it looks pretty. I would like it to have like a little bit of darker areas here and there. So just drop in a little more color on some spots to give it a little more of like a golden type of look, and also to give it those nice dark areas and the variation that you see in autumn leaves. If there's any areas you feel like they were too dark, you could always use a paper towel to just really gently blot it and siphon up some of the color, or you can wash your brush and then use your brush to siphon up the color. So I like that for my main color, and of course I'm going to add a little bit of gold. This will give it some nice sparkle and shine when it's dry. So that one's complete. We'll let that dry and see how it looks, and if you need to go back and do a second glaze layer, you could do that. I kind of like how it looks right now, and we'll see how it looks when it's dry. So I'll move on to this one. I'm going to do this one more of like a brownish color. So I'm using a lot of water again. I'm just filling in this whole leaf. And this time I didn't bother with the clear water. Just make this color really, really wet. As long as it stays wet for a little bit so I can drop in my darker hues, then it's fine. And I added some of this really dark brown. And just mixed a little bit of black in with it too, to make sure it's like super dark. And then just get the edges of these and add a few spots in the center. You can just really have a lot of fun with this. There's no wrong way to do it. Okay, so I'll leave that one dry and see how it looks. And then let's move on to this one. So I'm gonna do that one kind of like light yellow with lots of gold. Okay, so I'll let that one dry and move on to this ginkgo leaf. I want this one to be pretty sparkly too. I'm going to use this lighter yellow color that comes in this Komorebi paint set. I think that would look really pretty. So I'll do this one with a lot of water again, and just metallic paint, and then drop in a little bit of regular color using this metallic paint as like the base. So something like that. I don't want to overdo it. We'll see what that looks like when it's dry. And move on to the maple leaves. So I'd like to make this one pretty red with a little bit of orange. And I think I'll make this one more like a brownish, bronze color, probably using that. So let's start with this red one. So I'm gonna fill this with water. This is a large leaf, so I'm just gonna do like one piece at a time. Otherwise my water won't be wet enough by the end for this to spread the way I want it to. And the last one we'll do is this maple leaf here. I think I'd like to do that more like a brown to kind of like balance out that brown leaf, and then I'll add in some metallics too. So I like it like this. I'm going to leave it like it is and let it dry and take a look. I try to avoid like over blending the colors and it becoming one like solid tone, because part of the appeal of watercolors is having this variation and these different like colors bleeding into each other. So I'm going to leave it and see how it looks once it's dry, and if you need to add in a little more detail with a second coat, then you could after this is dry. So this is our finished project. I really like how this came out with one layer of glazing, so I'm going to leave it as is. If you wanted to go back through and add little details like the veins in your leaves and that kind of thing, or go back through with a white gel pen, you could do that, or you can just leave it like this. If you're a digital artist like me, then stay tuned for my next episode where I will show you how you can recolor this in Procreate while preserving your watercolor textures and all the character that real watercolors bring to your artwork. If you enjoyed this video, then be sure to click like and to subscribe so you don't miss out on the next fun tutorial. If you post your work on Instagram, you can tag me at mymcdoodles or hashtag mymcdoodles so I can share your work in my stories. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you next time.